Hello and thanks for joining us from our studios in Israel. I'm Aaron Porras, here with ILTV's Morning Briefing. Horrific violence along the Gaza border this weekend as tens of thousands of Palestinian protesters began a 6-week demonstration that quickly erupted into violence. IDF troops along the border responded with force and live fire in some cases, once it became clear that much of the protest was merely a smokescreen for Hamas bloodshed. Though the terror group initially described the protest to be a peaceful sit-in, the mob quickly turned lethal Friday afternoon, beginning what the Palestinians say will be a 6-week protest. Rioters hurled Molotov cocktails and in one case opened gunfire on IDF troops stationed at the border. Tire fires, rock hurling, and attempts to either destroy or damage the security barrier also escalated the conflict. At this time, over 1,000 Palestinians have been reported injured by Hamas in those clashes, and 16 Palestinians have been reported killed. Despite accusations of excessive force on Israel's behalf, the army has actually identified at least 10 of those 16 casualties as Hamas soldiers, a number at least partially confirmed by Hamas itself. After holding funerals for a number of the deceased, Palestinian Authority President Abbas called the day a day of mourning for the Palestinian people. The protests continued into the next day, though with diminished numbers. But the flames of war have obviously been fanned. Mere hours ago, a Palestinian man was arrested infiltrating Israel from the Gaza Strip. The dust is still only beginning to settle from this weekend's bloodshed, some of the worst between Israel and the Palestinians in years. But the accusations are already flying over who's to blame for the violence. While Israel has slammed Hamas for setting the stage for warfare from the get-go, even conducting its largest ever live-fire drill mere days before the rally, the Palestinians say Israel is fully responsible for the deaths of 16 Palestinians. Hamas has released video footage that seems to depict an 18-year-old protester retreating from the Gaza front lines, apparently being shot in the back by an IDF bullet. Israel has accused Hamas of manipulating their video footage, and has also released army surveillance footage of Palestinian militants pulling the first trigger on Israeli troops. Furthermore, most Israeli officials agree that Hamas's call for a, quote, peaceful sit-in this weekend's protest is a blatant cover for violence targeted right at Israelis. The IDF has identified at least 10 of the 16 Palestinians killed in the clashes as Hamas militants, a number at least partially confirmed by the terror group publicly. Despite these affronts, much of the international community questions Israel's use of lethal force in response to the clashes. The United States has just used its veto power to quash a UN resolution demanding an investigation into the deaths, and seemingly blaming Israel for the aggression. While some Israeli Knesset members do think an investigation is warranted and that violence should be a last resort only, the IDF says it will act with appropriate force in cases when national security is at stake. According to Kuwaiti news Al Jarida, unnamed sources have reported 2 Israeli F-35 Adir fighter jets flying over Iranian airspace last month in an apparent reconnaissance mission. The report goes on to claim that the jets flew through Iraq and Syria as well, completely undetected by anyone, including Russian forces. Though Israel does operate 7 F-35s and has admitted to carrying out at least 100 airstrikes in Syria over the past few years, the IDF has not confirmed these reports. Indeed, many even speculate whether the report is true at all, primarily citing both limitations to the Adir jet and that Al Jarida news itself is unreliable. A Haaretz article on Al Jarida commented that, quote, it's generally assumed in the Arab world that the paper is used as an Israeli platform for conveying messages to other countries in the Middle East, end quote, by spreading Israeli propaganda and PSYOPs messages. Regardless, in the wake of this report, it will be uneasy to see the effects on Israeli-Iran tensions. Following a recent visit to Israel, a group of Democratic congressmen have just signed and sent a letter to Prime Minister Netanyahu urging him to release 280 African asylum seekers from Saharonim prison. The legislators argue that the prisoners in question should be released immediately in light of the Israeli Court of Justice's decision to halt deportations. It continued that, quote, we hope that these detainees will be released before the Passover holiday and that durable solutions, including in Israel, can be found, end quote. The letter was sent last Tuesday from the office of Nancy Pelosi, the Democratic House Minority Leader from California, who also led the Democratic delegation to Israel. Currently, deportations against asylum seekers have been halted pending the government's response to the High Court. Until that time, however, detainees in Saharonim prison aren't slated to go anywhere. Kentucky-based hemp producer Gencana has just announced that as part of efforts to raise awareness about the benefits of hemp, all of their hemp-derived products from now on will be certified kosher by Kentucky Kosher International. In a meeting with the Jerusalem Post at Tel Aviv's annual Canatech conference, Gen Cana President Steve Bevan reported that the hemp products will also be non-GMO, gluten-free, vegan, and registered and inspected by the FDA and the Kentucky Food Safety Branch. He quipped that, quote, "In a market that is really the Wild West, having standards like that matter," end quote. Brett Goldman, the director of Gen Cana, added that the hemp product Gen Cana grows is a, quote, low THC substance to provide a lot of ingredients for many other consumer products, and because it's so new, the ability to have quality certification really matters, and that's why our kosher certification is a badge of honor, end quote. Hemp is considered to be the male of the cannabis plant and is characteristically low in THC, or the psychoactive compound found in medical cannabis. That's all for now. I'm Aaron Porras, and see you later with our main daily broadcast from Israel at 2 p.m. Eastern Time.